Welcome to Resume Well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Resume Well. We are here today with a lovely guest who's like a blast from the past, honestly, and she's wonderful. Her name is Alissa Salvatore, and she is an actress and singer and host from the Bronx, New York. And when she is not auditioning, which is often, she is traveling and eating her way around the world, which is everyone's dream. Her blog, The Starving Actress, is an ode to living your life to the fullest within an industry that wants to put your entire life on hold while waiting for a job, which we're going to come back to because I love it.
We know how that goes.
I'm reading this from a text and she says, I hate writing bios. I'm like, who am I and what the heck do I do? Which I love because I think everybody feels that way when they have to write a bio. Yes. Anyway, Alyssa, thank you for coming on. I'm so excited to see you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Thank you. I'm so excited. For context, Alyssa and I were in an acting class together like over 10 years ago. And it was one of the most fun experiences of my life. And she's just so awesome. So I like to start off by asking everybody, if you were at a dinner party and somebody asked you, Alyssa, what do you do? How would you respond?
Gosh, that's like the bio question. It's so hard because, okay, here's the philosophical part of it. I don't like to tell people what I do for work because I feel like I do a lot of things for work. Some things pay the bills. Some things creatively fulfill me. Some things are just like, get me out of the house to go do it. And what I do as a person is I just like to like live and create in any way. Creating to me is just cooking a small little dish or reading a book and getting inspired and like doing some journaling based on like what I'm seeing. That's why I'm probably not a very good dinner guest because they're like, this is weird. But I guess if I'm not answering philosophically, I would be like, hey, yeah, I'm an actress and I like to host and do segments where I get to talk to people and learn more about their life and their experiences or their businesses. And so I guess that would be like the short answer. Actress, host, singer.
Yeah. And how do people usually respond to that? Because I feel like whenever anyone says like, I'm an actress, people immediately are like, what have you been in?
Exactly. They're all like, well, have I seen you in anything? And you're like, probably not. But doesn't make it mean I'm not really an actress. So when I first graduated college and I did not work at all yet, and I was just auditioning or trying to get auditions, and I would go to bars just like on a Friday night at like 21, and the guys in the bar were like, so what do you do? I'm an actress. Yeah, okay. And I was like, but I'm still going to tell people I'm an actress, even though I have 0 jobs. But that's what I do. I'm trained in it. I enjoy it. I feel it in my gut that this is what I do. I don't care that I don't have any evidence based on the fact that I'm not professional because I've never gotten paid yet, but I kept that with me. And so and now I've booked many jobs. I've been paid. I've been able to like support myself. And when people ask me now, I'm like very proud to say, yeah, I'm an actress and a performer. I don't have any shame behind it. And when they say, have you seen me in anything? I'm like, probably not. Did you catch a good cop on NTD, that tiny little channel that's a non-union? It was still on TV. Or like that random tour that came through your town, that musical. Like you probably didn't, but I still work and I got paid and I'm proud of the work that I do. So yeah, I'm proud to say that that's what I do.
Yeah. I want to talk about the shame because I feel like that's such a huge thing that a lot of artists have. Mm-hmm. And whether or not they talk about it is up to them. But I love that you're talking about it. Yeah. So I guess for somebody who isn't an actor or in the arts, like that might sound weird. So can you explain what you mean by like, I don't have any shame about it anymore and how you kind of like came out of that?
Yeah. So there's 2 sides of it kind of because I am very unapologetic about what I do and that I chose a career that has no financial stability, like so much rejection. It takes a toll on you so much. And I've worked my way through that, but we can talk about that. And I still choose it and I chose it. And people like, they didn't look at you like, you have job insecurity. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, go get a real job. What are you doing with yourself? And now you're in your late 30s and you're still, when are you gonna stop and get like a real job? It's just so, it can be so degrading if you don't have the self-assurance and the security and the the connection with your soul to let you know that you are on the right track and you are doing the thing that makes you come alive. And there are times where it's not working, like the career, it's not working. I'm not making money, particularly in that moment doing that craft. And I have to pivot and say, I need to make money. What can I do to fulfill that creative thing, but also at the same time make money? And I'm always just pivoting and finding like new jobs, new side hustles, opening the doors for myself because I don't want to quit just because the world wants me to quit. I'm like, when I'm ready in here, that's when I'm going to quit. So until then, I'm going to find ways to make it work. And people are not like outside of the creative world, just don't understand that need and the necessity to like do your art and be in that place where you're in flow, doing what you love. A lot of people are, and I'm not, downgrading what they do. I think it's amazing that people do jobs and they go to their office and they're getting things done. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, like, that's not who I am. I don't want to sit at a desk. I feel like my soul would die. And it's just a fighting battle every day to be like, you're on the right track. You have this. Don't be embarrassed to tell people that this is what you do and be proud that you're forging the way for yourself. It's not for anyone else except me. Like, you are on the path that you told yourself you wanted to be on, that you feel you want to be on, and nothing's going to take that away from you. So the hard times are going to come and go, and you just have to pivot and find ways to keep going and listen to that inner voice outside rather than the voices outside of you. It's a long battle. I mean, I'm in my late 30s now. So I started when I was 17, and you're just constantly doing the work and trying to stay in touch with that part of you.
Yeah. And how do you pivot? Like, most people pivot once or twice, maybe 3 times in their career. And I think, when I was preparing for this, I was like, she's such a good person to ask this question to, because actors, like, the mental toughness and agility you have to have in order to keep going and like wake up every day and choose to do this over and over again when it seems so much easier to not easier, but kind of easier to do something else. Yeah. I mean, how would you describe your mindset in those moments? And what is there like a quote? Is it just that you would die if you worked at a desk? Like, what is it that keeps you choosing it every day?
Yeah. Well, first I want to say that it's a constant fight between your soul and your mind, and what the mind wants to do the right thing and make money for survival and house yourself and be financially secure. And then your heart is just telling you like, you're not, no, it's just a definite no. So it's never going away. It's something that I have to confront all the time. But when I'm in those moments where I'm like, I need to do something. So let's say the pandemic for one. Okay. So everything closed down. I had nothing. I had no income. And because I was a freelance gig person, I didn't have unemployment. So I had like 6-7 months with no unemployment checks coming in. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And then I started doing virtual videos for kids dressed up as like Elsa. And then that led to parties. And I was like, okay, like, these, what's it called? I can't even talk. Socially distanced parties in their backyards. So I started doing those, and that was bringing me a lot of joy. And I was just following my heart. I'm like, okay, this is fun. I get to sing. I get to dress up. I'm getting out of the house, and I'm just bringing joy to these kids and these families. They're still getting to celebrate their birthdays. And then I took that idea and I was like, this is a great side hustle for me. And once things really started opening again, I invested in costumes and I started doing marketing for myself. Okay, how can I get into these neighborhoods and do all this stuff? And then that just naturally rolled into what it is today, which is like 5 years later. Oh my God. Of just like parents calling me because they've seen my work or they saw me at another party. And that has been really great. I think just being open to opportunity and being open to, hey, this might not look like what I thought that I would be doing. I really never thought that I would be dressed in costume again, because I did that when I was 17. I was doing that in high school. I was dressing up as a clown and going to birthday parties. And if you told me at 30 something, I would be doing that again, I'd be like, did I go anywhere with my life? Like, what a loser. I'm pathetic. But no, it's so different now. I own the company. I call the shots. I bring the joy directly. So it really does make me really happy. And I think just being open to those opportunities and always listening to that inner voice. And I love this thing. I don't know if you know Marie Forleo. She's like one of my icons. I love her. And she always says there's this thing where when you have something and a choice, are you either expanding or contracting? You're either expanding, even though you're scared, you're like, but it feels good. And I want to follow that intuition, or you're just collapsing and it's like definite no. And whenever I'm faced with things, I'm always like, how do I feel about this? And sometimes I'm just like, listen, I might not know how to do this thing. I might not be experienced in this, but I want to do it. And it makes me excited to do it. And I'm not just going to audition and wait to get a job that I'm probably not going to book, because that's just how it goes. So while I'm doing that, I want to be open to these other opportunities that can bring that joy and fulfillment and money. But like I said, it's constant. It's constantly thinking and strategizing, and it's exhausting. I'm not going to lie. It's exhausting.
Yeah. I mean, I have a 4-year-old, so I've seen like
the most exhausting job there is being a mom. I know that.
No. I just mean like I've seen that is maybe true, but also
I don't even have kids, but I see all you moms.
Being Elsa at a kid's party, I think that's like a close second. I've been to many a party now, like with Elsa's, and honestly, like Spider-Man has to be like a gym. It's not like the parties from the 80s, like that it's different. It's highly skilled, like Juilliard level actors at these parties.
Exactly.
It's bananas. So
in this economy, yeah, you gotta be snapping it up. You can't just be standing there. You gotta do something.
Yeah. So, okay. I love that you brought in the 17-year-old self, because I think that is a huge fear of a lot of people, where they're like, when, am I going to be doing the same thing that I was doing at 17 when I'm like 40? Because will that make me a failure? Blah, 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 blah. But I think, first of all, things change, right? We went through a pandemic. You just said you didn't even qualify for unemployment because of gig economy, and you had to do something. So one, just being able to be resourceful, I think is pretty phenomenal. And two, being able to be resourceful in doing something that you actually still enjoy. And I love that you are putting happiness like at the forefront, because a lot of people don't do that, and they'll sacrifice the happiness for the paycheck, or for status, or for, parental appreciation, and all of that, everything that goes into that. And I do want to ask you about that. So when you were a kid, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that you wanted to be an actress when you were a kid.
Well, kind of. Wait, is that the question, or is there
Sure,
more?
yeah. What did you want to be as a kid?
I actually wanted to be a writer when I was a kid. I was just always reading all the time. I was actually an English major in college, but when I was still always talking to myself in the mirror and dressing up constantly. Like there's videos of me being too like, and my mom was the one to be like, you should do the community theater. And I was like, I don't sing, I don't act. And then when I was a freshman in high school, I did the school play, and I was like, okay, here we go. This is like mind blowing, like goosebumps. I have found the thing. I'm like getting struck by lightning with purpose at 14. And that's where it really came to life for me.
Do you remember the play?
Oh yeah. It was the Pirates of Penzance.
Nice.
It was an operetta. I do not sing opera, but I just did it. I made it work. Never had a voice lesson in my life. And then I was like, okay, I need voice lessons. I need to take this seriously. And then I really started from there.
Yeah. Okay. So you also sing, which of course, if you know Elsa, she does have to sing Let It Go at like every single birthday party. That's the big moment of the party. Just take us through a little bit of, so you decided you want to do this. You were 14 years old. There's a lot of naivete involved in that, but you knew that you had to do voice lessons. I mean, you're in New York, so you're also like in the epicenter of that world, which is great. But how your family was clearly supportive. If your mom was, like, you should do this. How did they feel about it in terms of like an actual career? Okay.
This kind of circles back to what do I need to do to make this dream happen? Like, what do I have to sacrifice to make this work? I'm one of 6, and I didn't have my parents put a roof over our head and, fed us, and we had everything we needed, but we were a family of 6 from the Bronx on one salary in the 80s and 90s. So when I wanted to take voice lessons when I was a teenager, I wasn't going to ask my parents because they had 6 children and college to pay for and high schools to pay for. And I was like, okay, well, I was a waitress during that time in college. I worked at Cosi. I don't even know if it's a thing anymore. It was like a sandwich spot and the tips were like $2 off a sandwich because they were like $8 sandwiches. So you'd work your ass off for hours and get like $2 tips, $3 tips. I kept all that money and I did voice lessons. They were only $25 at the time, but that was a lot of money for me. I was in school. I had to buy all my own textbooks, $300, a semester of all your books. And I cared so much about the dream. And my mom would drive me to the city, which was amazing, but I would pay for all my lessons for steps on Broadway and take tap classes and dance classes. I paid for all my own headshots that were like $1,200, even 10, 15 years ago. I was only 17, but I was so serious. And I was like, I wasn't even thinking about money. I was like, I'm going to make money babysitting and waitressing and just fund my dreams. And the first voice teacher I had was the best teacher because he wasn't like technically perfect. I didn't have like that perfect opera classical training where you like learn how to sing perfectly. I'm still learning now how to sing. Every lesson I'm like unlocking different levels because whatever. But this guy, he taught me how to sing from my soul. He taught me jazz and soul and R&B. And he really gave me this like huge repertoire and like taught me how to like perform from my gut. And that was like so invaluable. He was in Yonkers, which is like 10 minutes from the Bronx. And he was like the greatest person to start me off into the career of like, follow your gut. I'm going to start getting emotional because it's just follow the gut. If your gut is telling you that you want to perform and you want to sing your heart out and you want to like, don't let anybody stop you. And you're always going to find a way. You're going to find the money. You're going to find like, you're going to be able to support yourself. Like I said, my parents were amazing and they definitely supported me and paid for my college, but I went to Hunter College. So I had an amazing deal. It was a city school, but I was pretty much on my own financially and just putting all my eggs into this basket of like, I want to get as great as I can at my craft. We took those classes, those acting classes, they're not cheap. And then when you're in those acting classes, these casting directors are coming, $175 for that. And I was just graduating college and I was just writing checks from my bank account and like, they were just happy to take them. And I just knew it was what I wanted. And I knew I was following myself and then just twisting and turning for the next 15, 20 years of what that looks like in this, particular situation and kind of always pivoting and reinventing. But I was always just following my heart, really.
Yeah. I think the biggest variable in the whole equation is your gut, right? Because I think acting is a great example. And that's why I love having actors on or any kind of artist on, because as kids, and I think it's funny that you wanted to be a writer. But I think as kids, we don't, obviously like we just don't understand how difficult it will be and how the world is set up and all of that. But I think as we get older, it's so easy to lose the gut, to lose the ability to listen to our gut and to recognize when it's a real push or I should say a real pull, as opposed to, giving into like the push of like what some people's parents or what society or, any of that might be pushing you towards. And for some people, it's easier than others. For some people, it's super clear and there's no way that they can go about life without adhering to the gut. And it sounds like for you, it was super, super clear. And so I have 2 questions, but was there ever a moment where you were like really, really not sure? Like really like, do I keep doing this? I mean, the pandemic, I'm sure like that might've brought it up a bit. Like, did you recognize that it was, going against your gut? You're still doing it. So how did you, recalibrate again and like keep going?
Be a little crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I do think actors have to be a little crazy. I mean, they have to be.
Yeah. You have to
in
be
the best
like a
way.
little delusional to be like, I'm going to do this for a living. But I remember this is really funny because it was our acting teacher, and I won't say the name because it was it was a kind of a negative experience for me. But I remember I was 23. So I had only really been going for 3 years professionally, like in the grind of auditioning and getting headshots and meeting casting people. And I felt so frustrated, like beyond, like unreasonably frustrated. I was just like, why isn't this happening for me? Like, I'm working so hard. I'm taking all these classes and I'm working, and none of the agents wanted to work with me or like even meet me or give me a chance. You know, you're emailing them and you're sending postcards. I remember being 23, so I was just starting. But it felt like forever for me because I was like, where's the payoff? Like, I want to work. And it was because I wanted to work. I wanted the art of it. I didn't want to keep doing the administrative work. I was like, when do you get to play and to be with other actors and work? So I went to our teacher, and he was like a grown man in his 50s. And he said, you know, you and I are just not the type of people that are going to get by on our looks in this business. It's going to be a marathon for people like us. I never forgot that.
Who could? Yeah. That's not nice.
To a 23-year-old girl, like an impressionable, like just
like also beautiful. What the hell?
Whatever the case was, it really like it got me, and it actually had the reverse response for me. I was like, that is so neither here nor there. That is not going to even play in my mind at all or put me down or anything like that. I was like, fuck this, fuck that guy. I'm sorry. Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah. No, you can say whatever you want.
I'm going to go even harder. And then I had jobs. I was booking little things here and there, but I still was like really hungry. And I'm like, it's not working the way I want. There's so much waiting around. And I think that's what really got to me, because it's not my personality to be isolated, quiet, waiting around. And that's a huge part of it. You're just at the mercy of these people giving you a chance. And then it could make a lot of people very desperate. And why should anyone feel desperation? Like, none of us deserve to feel desperate on a daily basis because we're constantly auditioning. And I remember saying to my other newer acting teacher, I'm like, I feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I'm at the bottom of a lake and it's dark and I'm drowning, and everybody out is like splashing on the surface, like throwing volleyballs in the sunshine and smiling. And I'm like at the bottom of the lake, like drowning. And she said, you need to take my meditation class. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know what that was. I'm from Italian-American family. I'm a New Yorker. Like, we're skeptical. We're like, now. But she was my acting teacher, and she would lead every class with whoever had taken her meditation course. They would start with meditation, and then they would let the rest of us in after. And I could see that people were just like in the moment, in their bodies, relaxed. Like, I have anxiety, so I'm always like buzzing. And I was just like, okay. So I took the class. It was like 4 sessions, and it changed my life, completely changed my life. I was doing it twice a day, every day. It was a transcendental meditation, and just really locking in and getting quiet. And it was like the stress was going away, and I was seeing clear. So I was performing better in my auditions, and I was booking more, and I just was getting these opportunities. And that really changed the course of my life. I meditate still. I don't do it twice a day like I should. But that was a huge moment that lifted me up, because this industry is so dark. It is so, it could swallow you up. It could eat your soul, and just like, it doesn't care about you. I say it's an abusive, toxic boyfriend. And if it's your choice to stay in it, you have to stay in it and find ways to keep your soul alive in whatever ways that is, because I have one life, and I'm not going to let this casting director sitting in this chair or this director make me feel like shit or make me feel desperate. Like, if I want this to be my dream, it's going to be my dream, and I will go through the hard times, but I'm going to counter that with things that I really enjoy. And that's where my blog actually started, because I was like, I can't sit home anymore. I'm going to like lose it. I'm so antisocial right now. And I started doing these videos where I'd walk around the neighborhood and like talk to business owners and try new foods and have people on my blog. And I got to just be in the community again. And it was outside of acting. I got to have creative control over something. And it brought so much joy to my life for like the past, however, that was 2017. Yeah, until now. And now I'm in another pivot stage, but we could talk about that. But that's, yeah.
I think you hit on so many things. So I do want to talk about the starving actress. But first I want to ask you, you did go to college, and you went to college for writing, for English. So I think a lot of people in New York, especially who are raised in New York and really in and close to show business and Broadway and all of that, which is show business. But what was the decision behind actually going to college? I mean, you could have easily been like, I don't need to do that.
Yeah. Well, so I went to regular high school in the Bronx. Actually, J-Lo graduated from my high school. She's from the Bronx too. Just a regular high school. But, and I did all the plays and I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. And my dad's from Italy and he's, he wanted me to get an education and he was like, go to college and study like whatever you want, like academia wise. And then you can do whatever you want when you graduate, follow whatever profession you want, but I want you to get a college education. And at first I was like, fuck, like 4 more years. And it was so hard. But then there goes my mindset. Okay, I'm here for 4 years. What can I do within these 4 years that I'm not going to go crazy? And I was like, I want to be an English major because I get to read and write for my major. And I was an Italian minor. And I just, through that, I did so well. And I'm like an average student. I was never like a smart person. I always had to really study. But with English, studying like the Canterbury Tales, that was like so fun for me that I was doing so well. And it made the time go faster. And then junior year, I was like, I want to study abroad. And again, what do I have to do? I was working at a wine bar and I saved up all my money and I bought a ticket to Rome and I found a class that I could take there that would fit into my schedule or my credits when I got back. And I had like such an incredible time during college. It was really hard to stay focused, but I was like enjoying it on the way through it. And graduating was one of the best days of my life. I was like, here we go. I'm going full force. I'm on my own. I have my parents' blessing because that means a lot to me. I'm very close with my parents and I want them to believe in me and I want them to just be proud of me and cheer me on while I'm doing it. But my mom did say, because there was another time I was 26 and I was reading at ABC because I'd taken a class and the head of ABC, John Ort at the time, he was like, I want you to be my reader for pilot season. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting close. I'm in the room as a reader and all these actors are coming in, these A-list TV actors, and I have to read the scenes with them for their pilot season. I'm like, these are working actors with families to feed. Like, I don't want to stutter or screw up. And because I was an English major, I'm a good reader. And it was just a very perfect job for me. I mean, I did not get paid. It was not a job. But I would, go give up my babysitting gig for the day, go read. And I got an audition for pilot season through that. And it just naturally, things just kept unfolding. But that pilot season episode that I auditioned for got me another meeting with a huge agent that was Piper Perabo and the woman that plays Cersei from Game of Thrones. It was their manager. I got a meeting through that. And they met me and they were like, all right, put yourself on tape. And we have 3 people that are going to decide if you're a fit for our agency. And I was 26 and I self-taped all these scenes. It was like 10 scenes. I sent them in and they called me and they were like, no, it's not going to work for us. Some of us think you're a good fit and some of us don't. And they were just so blunt. And I remember I just like threw myself on the couch and I was like sobbing, like this is too painful. Like it just was. You put your heart and soul and it just like people like kick you in the nuts. And my mom walked in and she was like, I can't watch you do this if you're going to make yourself sick and be 40 years old and be in the same position where you're keep hurting yourself and you're so upset about these jobs. And that was like another moment for me where I was like, okay, what are we doing to stay happy and alive and focused? So like those really hard, low moments would always propel me to like keep searching to do the stuff that made me happy.
Yeah. And I think that's something most people will come up against in this type of career and like most careers, honestly, because I think one of the things that acting taught me anyway is that, the competitiveness of it and the instability of it is really present in so many other jobs as well. And most of the other careers that I happen to be interested in had the same level of either instability or self-resourcefulness that was needed. Yeah. And so it taught me that. And I love that you kind of had to come to this like really sad moment, but this moment and then be like, okay, if I want to keep doing this, I have to figure out how to be happy. And I just really, really love, because that was why I started this show was, it is possible to do something that you love and be happy doing it. You just kind of either have to get creative about it or find another thing to do that does make you happy, So let's talk about Starving Actress, which is such a good name. I love that name. you could have picked acting, you could have picked singing, you could have picked anything to focus on for that show. And I know you're Italian American, so any Italian American listening is going to be like, that's a stupid question, Courtney. But why did you choose food and travel?
Yeah, because that's like a huge life passion for me. And my mom always told me, if you didn't do acting, you would be a food critic. And she told me that since I was a kid.
That's
I was
so funny.
Eating like crazy. I just love to eat. And I was like, what can I focus on? What can my page be about? And I was like, duh, food. It wasn't even a question. There's nothing that I like am as excited about other than like philosophy and these like deep conversations. And I just wanted to get out there and try everything. So the first thing I did was start something called Taste the World Tuesday. And every week I would go to a different like cultural restaurant and like play a little of the music from the culture, do a little of the language, and then like eat their menu and, you know, discover their, you know, their beautiful country gems. And I paid like $100 every week and I went into debt doing that. But it was like one of the most fun experiences. I was like, I'm investing in my future, whatever. And it was so much fun. I got to eat food that I never thought I would eat. I'm like, I'm going to Ethiopian tonight. I'm going to like all these places in the Middle East that like aren't necessarily on my radar when I think of going out to dinner on a Friday night. I'm like, you know, but I got to just explore all this stuff and it was so much fun. And it just taught me, just put the work in. A lot of these influencers, they just get like free meals and they'll advertise. But that wasn't the point for me. It was like really, really getting the experience and supporting local businesses, by the way. Like, hello, we're all like mini local businesses. So I always want to support people. And food was just like the connecting tissue to the people and something that I love and something that I thought that I could talk about. You know, I don't feel like I have like a lot of expertise in a lot of things. So I felt confident to talk about that.
Yeah, that is a great point. Because you don't have to be an expert, right? You don't have to be an expert to go around and talk about something that in your experience is good, right? And that like you're just talking.
Who doesn't love to eat?
Yeah. And you're talking about it from your experience in that moment, which is so great. And I mean, it is also kind of a nice conglomeration of all of your skills. Like you've spent so many years on camera, you know how that works. And what I really love about it is, first of all, if you haven't looked at her videos, for people that are watching or listening, they're so fun. You have this like, oh my gosh, it's just like this like warmth that feels like a sister, like an Italian American sister taking you around, and you're just like, oh, this is fun. But also it just having that blog in general kind of gives you control in a career that you really like. Acting and singing, performing arts. You have very little control over your career. And this kind of allows you not only creative control, but if you did want to monetize it, I'm sure you could, you know, and I love that about it. And I love the creative outlet. I think the underlying, you know, current that you have seems to be that you follow your gut and you have to have some kind of creative outlet always going just to keep you happy. And I think being able to recognize that is huge. And I think and you can tell me, but I think it comes with time. So what is this other pivot? What's the other pivot?
Gosh. Yeah. So the last couple of years, I've felt kind of stuck in my energy of like, I've outgrown some of the things I've been doing. And I'm like, I need a challenge and I like want to be challenged again. And there's a really good book that I'm actually in the middle of that I haven't finished, but it's called The Big Leap. I don't know if you've heard of it. You've heard of it? Mm-hmm. It's basically about when you get really good at something and you're in your zone of genius and you're just like, I'm so good at this. I excel. I could do it with my eyes closed. And then you kind of get to a place where like you start to feel like a little ache of there's got to be more. I'm not reaching my fullest potential. And then you're in your zone of excellence, which is like taking that big leap to like the next thing. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what that is for me exactly. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but there has been a couple of projects that I'm working on. It's funny because like I'm so lucky that I'm in a wedding band. I've been wedding singing since like 2013 on and off with different bands. And I never wanted to fully commit because I need my weekends open in case I go on tour and like blah, blah. And I'm like giving away steady money for years. I refused to just, be in one place because I needed my schedule to be open, but I was always poor. And I was just like, how do I make this freaking work? Like, man. And it wasn't until like 2018 that I got into a steady rhythm. And I was like, I'm going to commit to this just to see where it goes. And it changed my life. Like taking away the anxiety of you're going to miss out if you are staying in one place. You're going to miss out. You have FOMO. I was like, you need some money in your pocket. And I started doing it. I met so many people. I get to perform every Saturday night. And, that also came with learning experiences of leaving certain bands, asking for what you're worth. Like this has also been another journey. But having that stable income now, finally, for the first time in my life in my 30s, has given me more creative freedom to do other projects. So these projects that I have in mind, I have no money behind it or whatever, but I wrote my first children's book, something I've always wanted to do because I've been wanting to be a writer since I was a kid. And just like another starving actress thing, but in a different format, like more interview style on the street kind of thing. I'm still envisioning it, but yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I can't wait. Oh my gosh. I want to read the children's book. I want a copy when it comes out. That would
brought
be amazing.
Me so much joy to like hire an illustrator and like talk about your pictures and what you wanted it to show, and then getting it back and seeing like a picture that came from your brain and just come alive. It's so inspiring. And then people are like, okay, now you got to get a publisher. I'm like, here we go again. It's like same thing with agents and casting directors, just a whole other world. And I'm so tired, Courtney. Like, I don't know if I want to like just go the self-publishing route or try to like crack that nut of the publishing industry. So I'm trying to figure it out. But also in terms of the pivot, there have been things in my career, acting wise and performing wise, where I was trying to do everything. And I was open to doing everything because I liked everything. And I started to really hate doing commercials. Not even the commercials themselves, commercial auditions. During the pandemic, I probably would do 5 to 6 self-tapes a day. And it would take up my whole day. I would have to have different outfits, memorize the scripts, shoot, edit, send it in. And I wouldn't get I would not even get any callbacks for like years. I was not booking anything in the commercial realm. And I used to a lot. I used to like pre-pandemic, I was booking a lot. And the dread that I would feel when I would see a casting notice and then the guilt because other actors are like, oh, you're so lucky. I couldn't even get a commercial agent and like feel crappy about that. But I was like, I hate this so much. It's not bringing me joy. It's not bringing me any money. What the fuck am I doing? And I call my commercial agents, like all of them that I've worked really hard to get throughout the years. And I never could have envisioned myself doing that. And I was like, I'm done with commercials. Please stop submitting me. I only want to focus on like singing projects that come in which is like very rarely they ever have that.
Yeah.
But that has also freed up a huge chunk of my energy, my time, my happiness, because I would wake up to a casting and be like, and I'm like, why do I want to start my day like that? And I started when I was 21 doing commercials and I would kill for these opportunities. And after I've done them, I'm like, I'm done for the foreseeable future. Cutting that out has been like such a great positive change for me. And I have not looked back. It's been like 2 years and I'm not looking back.
Well, I think it's interesting that whole concept of, like you start on something and you get into this zone of genius and then you kind of hit a plateau, right?
Yes.
Because you've mastered it to some degree. And that, we could talk about flow and being in, your creative flow because you need to have challenge. Like you can, once you master something, it's not as rewarding anymore because you don't get like that dopamine kick, so you need to have that challenge. And it's so interesting to hear you talking about it in the real world, and in this really interesting career choice, which I think people from the outside would look at acting and be like, it's just so exciting and, glamorous. If they have if they've never done it, if they're, coming from a totally different industry, I think it would surprise a lot of people to know that a lot of the time, there's very little bang for your buck, right? So if you're recording for 6 hours a day and you don't book anything, it's exhausting. And
the agents in casting are so unforgiving. They're like, next, and they have no care about your mental health or anything. It's like you get emails in all caps, urgent casting. Well, I can't make it. Well, then I'm going to, and it's like threats and this and like, whoa. I'm not dealing with that anymore. No.
Yeah. So it's just, I love it. I think it's really interesting how, you've been able to kind of keep going and because that it's like what brings you joy. So my question is, one question, how do you go about setting goals for yourself?
That's a very interesting question because I don't really know the answer. I am just very open to the universe sending projects my way that I would really want to do. So I don't really have a goal of like, yeah, I'm very spontaneous and what's the word when you're always jumping in without thinking. I can't think of the word right now.
Impulsive.
Impulsive.
Yeah.
I'm very impulsive, which is like good and bad. And it's, I only just want to be in the moment today, this day. I don't, when people say, what's your 10-year plan? I'm like, I get like, I don't want to think of that because it just scares me. I don't know. So I just want to be open to projects finding their way to me, being proactive and like always networking in a way that's like manageable and not like going to a cocktail party. Like, what do you do? Hate that. Always hated that. But just being open to what the universe wants and then creating my own projects like that I could have the control over, like the children's book and the show that I want to produce. I have a couple, like I want to do something with the Italian American part of myself and like a lot of little things. But yeah, like I'm not going to lie, the last 2 years have been really difficult because I'm in that place where it's like you're outgrowing, but you don't know what the future looks like yet. So you're kind of I feel like I've been kind of frozen, no pun intended.
Oh my gosh, just let it go, Alyssa. Just let it go.
Let it go for real. And it's been really frustrating. And I'm feeling that same frustrated feeling I did when I was 23, when I'm like, I just want to do it. And now you realize it's like you're asking to just be in flow. You just want to be in flow. And that's like the best feeling when you're doing something that is just fulfilling you in such a big way. And just, it doesn't even have to have money attached to it sometimes. I don't know. So yeah, goal setting, it's more just like following what I want to do that day and the next day and always keeping money in my back pocket. I will say the proudest thing I've ever done in my whole career is open a retirement account. And I, supporting myself financially and knowing that I have my retirement account from if this doesn't work out anymore, or like when I'm 65, I want to make sure that I've planned for my future. So that was my biggest goal.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is actually uncommon for for people in your industry and for just artists in general, because it seems very impossible to do. I mean, when you're because it's hard to save. It's hard to save, and it's just hard to plan because it's hard to plan for next year, let alone like 20 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's feast or famine. I literally haven't had much going on the last couple of years, and then the band that I work with, they got a potential gig in Mexico the same day that I got a huge callback, and they're in the same week. And I'm like, of course, I will have nothing on my calendar for months and feel like, what am I doing with my life? And then all of a sudden you're like, same week, because that's just, and then you just know like, that's just the way it goes, and just trust that it'll work out the way it does. Yeah.
I love that. So my next question would be, are you happy in your career?
Okay. So that's a loaded question.
It is.
I am so happy in my life.
Okay, great.
I am frustrated in my career at the moment because I'm not in flow, but I still have all of my like ideas and like I'm still in alignment with what I want to do and how I want to do it. But in this moment right now, I'm still feeling like that I'm in that mode, and I'm very hard on myself in that way of like, I want things now. And if I don't have them right now, like I must be doing something wrong. So I would say I'm just a little frustrated, but I'm very happy in my life. I have a great partner. I have a great family. I love where I live. I love that I'm supporting myself on all creative jobs, whether they're singing, hosting, acting, voiceover. Those are my side jobs, and they're not side jobs. They're like my career. So I'm very happy in that, but in the actionable, like physical way, I'm like, I'm frustrated.
Yeah. I love that. It's very honest. And I think most people have moments like that, whether it's in acting or not. How would you describe your purpose?
Ooh, good question. I've been thinking about that a lot. And purpose to myself or purpose to the world or people around me?
Either, however it resonates. Okay.
I feel that I'm a storyteller, and everything that I do seems to connect in a Venn diagram of like storyteller. So whether it's like a food blog, you're still connecting and telling a story through that medium, or whether you're writing a children's book, or whether you're singing at someone's wedding and you're like singing their first dance, like I am telling a story, and it's a connection of some sort. And everything that I say and do, I want it to just be about connection to other people. And I don't know if storytelling means making people feel good, making people feel warm and received and seen and loved and respected and heard, because that's always what I want. And anytime I was a reader at ABC, and I was only in my early 20s, and I would see these people come in, they would be so nervous. And I'm like, I know exactly how they feel. And they would come in and I would smile at them. When I would put their mic on, I'd be like, you're going to do a great job. And if they stuttered, I'd be like, oh, let's start again. Because it is something that I so badly wanted to be treated that way when I was in the audition room, which is very rare that you get people that give you space and make you feel warm and seen and received. So I feel like that's a big thing of what I do. I want people to feel seen, heard, connected, received, loved. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. So
hey, great question. Very deep.
Ooh, I know. Sorry.
No, it's good.
Okay.
No, it's great. I love these kind of questions. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, here are we're just going to do some really rapid fire. Like, I think there's 5. I think there might be 6 for you. I try to do 5, but okay. Ready? So like one word answers, or like a sentence, as succinct as you can make it. Okay.
Yes.
Best advice you've ever received.
Oh, the grass is green where you water it.
Worst advice you've ever received.
You have too high standards and you're too picky. So just like start being less picky.
Current daily practice that you're loving.
Morning pages. As soon as you wake up in the morning, and I'm trying to do the artist's way. I don't know if you know that book.
Yeah.
Morning pages.
Yeah. Good for you. All right. Favorite. This is like a 2-parter. Favorite pump up song to listen to.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's so hard for me because I love music. But yesterday it was the Legally Blonde song with "Better Watch Me Shine." I won't stop now till I'm on top now. I needed that like 2000s pump, and I had such endorphins.
That's amazing. Okay, what's your? I would never. That was not. No one's ever said that.
Watch
favorite song to perform. Please be that song.
I actually love performing "Landslide" by Stevie Mac.
Oh,
Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac.
Stevie Nicks.
Stevie Nicks. Yeah, that's a great song. Bucket list travel destination.
Oh God, there's so many, but Scotland is definitely like on the forefront.
Yeah, same. I would love to go there. And if someone were to visit the Bronx, where should they go to eat?
Little Italy, the whole strip. You got the best delis, fresh mozzarella, fresh ravioli. It's just an adventure, the whole area.
Okay. Sounds delicious. Now I'm hungry. All right, Alyssa, thank you so much. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you want to say, or if you want someone to follow you, how do they follow you? How do they get in contact with you?
Sure. You guys can follow me on Starving Actress NYC or at Alissa Salvatore 20. Yeah, I don't take social media too seriously. I don't have like thousands of followers. I don't like to post 3 times a day. I know that's what the app wants, and that's why I'm probably not growing. But I just want to post when I'm like actually inspired, which is like hurting me kind of. But yeah, that's my stickler. Like I refuse to do what everyone's doing. But yeah, that was an amazing interview. I just want everyone to know, like, just follow your intuition and don't let other people try to like tell you who to be or what to be.
Yeah. Yes. Mic drop. Done. Thank you. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you for everyone listening.
Thank you,
and
Courtney.
Yes, please follow Alyssa at The Starving Actress NYC and at Alissa Salvatore with the E on the end 20 on Instagram. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.